everyone, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Real Talk with Biha Care. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today's podcast, we're going to be having a Minisode, and we're going to be talking about how to become aware of and overcome emotional triggers. Now, what are emotional triggers? Emotional triggers are people, words, opinions, situations, or environmental situations that provoke an intense and excessive emotional reaction within us. Common emotions that we experience while being triggered include anger, rage, sadness, envy, frustration, self-doubt, self-pity, and fear. So, have you ever been in a friendly, normal conversation with another person? Everything is going well, and then suddenly your blood pressure is rising, you're starting to hyperventilate, you have distinct urge to strangle the other person, or you suddenly start to feel insecure and try to shrink away or vanish. That means you've been triggered in some way. When triggered, you may either withdraw emotionally and simply feel hurt or angry or respond in an aggressive way that you will probably regret later. Your reaction is so intense because you're defending against a painful feeling that has surfaced. For instance, if a coworker says something like, "You're not smart enough to get that promotion," or a relative says you're too old to find a soulmate, you become triggered. You get upset, doubt yourself, and you feel inferior, or even wrongly think that you're over the hill. Your emotional triggers are wounds that need to heal, and these beliefs are based on fears, not reality. Why do we get triggered? Most people suffer from emotional triggers for three main reasons, and they are opposing beliefs and values. Now, when we are strongly identified with a certain belief, we may find it hard to be tolerant of other opposing beliefs. Values stem from beliefs and involve what we hold as important in life. When another person disagrees or challenges our values, we get triggered because they are calling into question truth and legitimacy of what we hold dear. Another reason is trauma. Getting triggered in quotes is a term that traces back to the experiences of post-traumatic stress disorder, often experienced by survivors of war, trauma, and or abuse. When we are triggered due to post-traumatic experiences, our reaction is often extreme fear or panic, and in some cases, anger. We get triggered when we see, hear, taste, touch, or smell something that reminds us of the previous traumatic experience. For example, a rape victim might be triggered when she sees men with beards, simply because her abuser also had a beard. A man who was assaulted by his alcoholic mother as a child might be triggered whenever he smells alcohol. An adult who was bullied or never fit in as a child may feel triggered when seeing groups of people having fun. Another reason is ego preservation. The ego is the sense of self or I that we carry around. This artificial identity that we carry is composed of thoughts, memories, cultural values, assumptions, and belief structures that we have developed in order to fit into. We all have an ego that its primary purpose is to protect us by developing elaborate self-protection mechanisms in the form of beliefs, ideals, desires, habits, and addictions. When our egos are challenged or hurt by others, we are prone to becoming triggered immediately. These kind of triggers affect our self-esteem and confidence and could manifest in doubt. So how do we heal from emotional triggers? Well, I'm gonna give 9 ways in which we can heal from emotional triggers. Number one, identifying your triggers is key. In a journal, you can keep a journal, and in your journal, you identify your top three emotional triggers which cause you to be most upset and thrown off balance. For instance, when someone criticizes your weight or appearance, or if you don't earn a certain income, or perhaps you feel unlovable and undeserving of a healthy relationship. Write this down and clarify the aspects of yourself that you need to heal. Number two, seek the source. Identifying the source of a trigger reaction is central to freeing ourselves from it. Triggers based on past traumas show us where the past invades the present, but they also allow us to look directly into the hidden world of who we are. When I accurately locate where a trigger comes from in myself, for instance, I notice that I can usually reduce its wallop substantially. Who or what triggered the emotion? What happened before you were triggered? Number three, be aware of projection. Trigger reactions are about projection. For example, if one of your parents was angrily violent towards you, you might be triggered by anger in others today. This is because your body fears a repetition of that original sequence, even though anger and violence aren't inevitably linked. Or maybe your first love left you for someone else, and now you're unsure of your attractiveness in every new relationship. We predict outcomes based on past experiences. Number four, remove your attention from the person or situation and focus on your breath. So long as you are alive, your breath is always there with you. It is solid and trustworthy, and therefore it's an excellent way to relax. Keep focusing on your breath. Breathe in, breathe out for a few minutes. If your attention goes back to the triggering person or situation, pull your attention back to your breathing. If it's someone you have to relate with all the time, when you're calm, pull the person aside and explain that what happened is a negative trigger for you. And if the person still remains insensitive, then by all means, set healthy boundaries with that person. Number five, take a break. Remove yourself from the situation. Walk away for 5 minutes and cool down. If you're speaking with someone, excuse yourself temporarily and say that you need to go to the bathroom or someplace else. Return when you're feeling relaxed and calm. If social media triggers you, take a break. Or if you're triggered by a particular person that posts negative comments and images, then by all means unfollow that person. Number six, find the humor in the situation. I'm aware that practicing this suggestion is not always possible, but you'd be surprised how much laughter and amusement lightens your perception. When I say find the humor in the situation, I don't necessarily mean laughing or belittling or mocking others or yourself. Instead, I mean looking at the situation as a whole from a bird's eye perspective and finding the comicality of it. Number seven, know you're not alone. We become easy victims of our triggers when we believe that everyone else is able to control theirs. Triggers lose a lot of power when we realize that people we trust and admire are affected in the same way as we are. Number eight, seek therapy. If a particular trauma trigger is creating unmanageable stress, seek professional help. I know most people don't believe in therapy and all that, but picture this. We can all agree speaking to someone helps in healing. So most times we talk to friends or family. But what if that person that you're speaking to is insensitive to your plight and does not understand what you're going through, or is going through much worse and cannot actually help you? Then everything comes crashing down and you're worse off than where you started. So speaking to a professional is nice in the sense that they are more equipped to assist you. Number nine, practice acceptance. As upsetting and challenging as triggers can be, it can help to remember that they are one of the body's ways of pointing us towards our own healing and wholeness. And every one of us has them. Similar triggers happen to all of us. They are simply a part of life. The healing is in being aware of our triggers and then taking healthy steps to overcome it. Understand that not everything is about you. Dissociate yourself from what the person is saying or doing that triggers you. This also works both ways. Be sensitive to others and ensure that you are not triggering someone else. If you say something and someone gets upset, realize that the person may have gone through or is currently going through something traumatic. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. if you enjoy listening to this episode, like the podcast wherever you're listening, and also make sure to subscribe for more and share. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to our podcast on your preferred platform. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes. Thank you.